Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Corman Productions, here to talk about This Is Us, Season 4, Episode 15, titled Clouds. This video got delayed by the fact that I got sick while making the previous video on this series. No, it wasn't the coronavirus, it was simple allergies, but I sounded pretty terrible, so I could not continue making it. It was further delayed that I was a little worried about how things were going as far as the coronavirus was concerned. Right now, a lot of things are going down, a lot of people are getting sick, and various states are going on full lockdown. I was a little uncertain that I would continue to draw a paycheck, which, if I didn't, it would give me plenty of time to make videos, but would have the sad effect of making sure that nobody was coming in to pay my bills. For now, my business remains open and I continue to draw a paycheck, but there are many people who are not so lucky. There are many people right now feeling the pain, either because they are sick themselves or because they are not working right now. Let's hope this all comes to an end soon. But in the meantime, I am here to entertain you. As it stands, This Is Us has finished its Season 4 run, and I have seen all the episodes up to this point, but I'm going to pretend from video to video that I haven't seen the other episodes just yet. So let's get down to talking about The Cloud, in which 2/3 of the big three annoy the crap out of me. A good place to start would be with the preteen timeline, which for the most part, the stories presented kind of get the short end of the stick. The meat and potatoes of this episode is clearly in the present day timeline, and rightfully so. But the stories that are showcased here in the preteen timeline, I kind of feel like they deserved a little bit more, and maybe they were better off not existing here. This thread kicks off with the big three getting the report cards and presenting them to their parents. More than a few people in the fandom have criticized Jack and Rebecca for having report cards presented this way, feeling that it exacerbated the existing sibling rivalries between Kevin and Randall. Randall is not satisfied with his grade, and he's going to go to his teacher and get it changed. And on top of that, he reacts with shock that Kevin could get 2 A's on his report card, highlighting the fact that Kevin was not the one solely responsible for the existing relationship between the two of them. Randall was not always the little angel there. Kevin is happy to get an A in the easy classes because that means he'll get some money to go and buy baseball cards with. Meanwhile, Randall's reaction to a slightly less than perfect grade concerns his parents. Rebecca tells Jack that he is getting worse, and this is one example of a story that I felt like could have been expanded because it deserved a little bit more exploration than we got. What we get is the setup and then the punchline, and that's about it. At the end of the episode, Jack is taking out Randall for a run as a means to deal with his anxiety. So that is where Randall learned that particular method for dealing with it from. And that's all well and good, but at the same time, I feel like we could have gotten a little bit more here, a little bit more exploration of this thread. Similarly, Kate announces that she broke up with Stuart and runs off upset. I watched this episode with Stacy and Adam because this actually aired on my birthday, and their reactions were about the same. Who's Stuart? Stuart is the kid that she kissed in the pool part 2, back in like the second episode of the season. This is where the format of the series sometimes works to the series' disadvantage. The showing things out of order and the cutting between timelines. It's a unique way of telling a story. But also, some things just simply get forgotten along the way. Like, I don't think we've heard of Stuart since the second episode of the season, and I don't think we knew that they were dating. I think you can do without that knowledge and still tell a relatable story about young love. But once again, we get the setup and then the punchline with nothing in between. And it's a good punchline. Jack basically compares boyfriends to the waffle maker that he used to have. You have to throw away the first couple because they get burned or they're just no good. But then you get to the right waffle that you can finally eat. And that's how boyfriends are. You go through a few and then you get the right one. But I think that they would have been better off holding off on this particular thread. We could have tied this into the aftermath of Mark and Kate in the teen timeline, which we really don't see for the rest of the season. Or heck, even a line in the Toby and Kate thread late in the episode. Something along the lines, you know what, you're the waffle I got right, Toby. Or something along those lines. But we don't get any of that. And I'm kind of wondering if the reason why the preteen timeline here gets such a short shift is because of the problems I discussed at length in the last video about the preteen kids getting just way too old to play their parts. Still, if you're gonna do it, you might as well do it full out. And they didn't really do that here. Kevin has the honor of being the 1/3 of the big three that did not annoy me in this episode. His thread is spending time with Rebecca. He tries to pretend like he doesn't know about Rebecca's illness, and he does a very bad job at it. You figured an actor would do better than this. In fact, the big three as a whole are pretty bad liars. I'm almost inclined to believe that he did it on purpose, that he wanted her to know that he knew, and that he wasn't mad about keeping it from him. During the search for Joni Mitchell's house on Rebecca's behalf, Kevin demonstrates both growth and everything that I have always liked about his character, including his incredible empathy and big heart. Towards the end of that particular thread, when they are supposed to be going to the appointment to get Rebecca's official diagnosis, Rebecca tries to stall because she doesn't really want to get the news about her illness and because she's enjoying the day. But Kevin, who has been seen as unreliable, wants to counteract that image, wants to do the right thing here, and promises his mother that this will not be the only day, that there are still more to come. Next up is Kate and Toby in the aftermath of her arriving back from the cabin. Toby apologizes for the things that he said, that he was scared, that he was exhausted. He tells her that the weekend with his son was a godsend, and he tries to show something off that he did for Kate, but she cuts him off and says to stop, that it's a very sweet gesture, but she needs some time. Okay, Kate, look. You expressed your problem. He clearly heard you and has made steps to fix the problem. He is trying to show you that he is going to be the father that Jack needs, and the man that you need. And you're basically just shutting him straight down. Kate gets a text message from Madison, and this is where Toby learns that Madison and Kevin slept together. Kate gets a text message from Madison, who wants to meet because she wants to apologize for sleeping with her brother. This is where Toby finds out that happened, and his reaction is extremely amusing. Not quite as good as Randall's was in the previous episode, but still up there. The next time we see Kate, she's meeting up with Madison, who's apologizing to her for what just happened with Kevin, And Kate says that she doesn't know what to think about things, and this is not really a great time. Madison, barely missing a beat, is basically like, is it the CrossFit girl? I'll kill her. Is it Toby? I'll kill him too. Madison is one of those friends that are described in memes that are like, when you say you have a problem, her instant response is, who do you want me to kill, or do you need help hiding the body? There is an element of the fandom that doesn't like Madison. I'm not one of those fans. I personally find her adorable. Sure, she's a little crazy, but nevertheless. Kate then recaps the conversation with Toby and everything that's happened since to Madison. And Kate at the end says, I don't know if he's being sincere or if he's just telling me what I want to hear. So if Toby does nothing with that information, he loses. And when Toby tries to act on what you said to him, he still loses because you question his sincerity. Madison plays devil advocate and suggests that maybe Toby took what you said to heart. She starts to play marriage counselor for a minute and says that perhaps when you're married, you should be able to express your feelings without judgment or punishment from the other side. I both agree and disagree with Madison here. If Kate's problem is what Toby said back in the 10th episode of the season, yeah, Madison is right here. Toby has every right to his feelings, his thoughts, and he should be able to express them. Because when you can't do that, you start doing what Toby did for most of the season, which was essentially hiding from his family. That's the real problem. And if you can't communicate within your marriage is doomed. And you don't have to look very far than me. Thankfully, Kate takes Madison's words to heart and goes home and makes up with Toby. And Toby shows off the grand gesture that he was going to show Kate earlier. And it's basically a recording studio where she can practice singing and Jack can play at the same time. And we see through a montage that Kate not only uses this studio, but Jack, as he grows older, uses it too. The best part of this thread is this is where the season-long arc ends. For those who regularly listen to me, you kind of get the sense that I was never exactly happy with Toby and Kate's stories this year. So I was very happy to see this one end. And finally, there's Randall, who annoys me the most in this episode and will continue doing so for the rest of the season. His thread centers around his therapy session. He goes to the office where there's a paint that bothers him for some reason that I don't quite get, though I have heard explanations for why it did online. I'm not sure which one is accurate. I will leave that to you to decide. There's no cups in the waiting room for the water, and the magazines are out of date, all of which serves to really annoy Randall. And I'm half suspecting that the therapist kind of knew what she was dealing with before she signed up for dealing with Randall, and that she did all of that on purpose. In the office, he is continually annoyed by the fact that a coffee pot keeps dripping water because she didn't turn it off. Again, I'm pretty sure that's another tactic in dealing with Randall. He clearly doesn't want to be there. He's fidgeting, he's nervous, he's shaking his leg, he's on the defensive. He's trying to deduce the tricks that the therapist is using to get him to talk. All of the scenes in the therapist's office are shot in an interesting way. The entire focus is on Randall. We don't see the therapist until the very end. As I said, I was watching this episode with Adam and Stacy, and their thought was perhaps it was because it was someone that we knew, and that's why she was being hidden from us. But I'm thinking there's a different reason. Because no, the woman does not turn out to be someone that we recognize. I'm thinking it's kind of like giving us a little bit of intimacy with Randall, really giving him no place to hide, and he's defensive throughout. Randall comes off like a jackassy, OCD control freak in this episode, which is what essentially he is deep down. That's not all he is, but that is the worst of him. He reveals his disdain for Miguel, who didn't notice that Rebecca was sick, and his evidence for Rebecca being sick is something that I do all the time. Like, I forget where I put my phone, among other things. I'm the absent-minded professor, and that would not be evidence that I'm having serious cognitive decline. It's just who I've been, who I've always been. The average person would probably chalk up what was going on with Rebecca as old age, which is what Miguel reveals that he did. Randall is not the average person. He's a very smart person, a very observant person. And this allowed him to see what others were not seeing. As my Uncle Gary would say about somebody else, this is the downside of his intelligence. He can see things clear as day, and he doesn't understand why others can't. He also revealed a complete lack of trust in his brother, who he learns through text message is going to be taking Rebecca to her appointment. And honestly, his disdain for his brother annoyed the crap out of me. I know they've had a rough relationship, which Randall is partly responsible for, but there have been many times in their relationship where Kevin did take care of him. We saw one example in the cabin in the previous episode, and we've seen a couple of other examples that I'll talk about like in future episodes, because this is still going to be a conversation going forward. Randall says that without him, the family would have fallen apart after Jack's death, and the therapist challenges him on that. Would they? And at that, Randall gets mad and leaves the office after ranting about everything that he's been annoyed with at the office. He tells the therapist that she just doesn't get it. And in actuality, it's him that doesn't get it. The magazine thing, by the way, amused me the most, because I've never been to a doctor's office with up-to-date subscriptions of anything. Randall comes home to Beth and says he's giving up on therapy. It's just not for him. Okay, you barely tried. I mean, come on, let's be real here. You didn't really try it. And what Randall doesn't get, maybe you don't click with this particular therapist. If that's the case, you try another one. The reality of therapy is sometimes you have to go through quite a few before you find someone that clicks with you and that actually helps you. Beth basically tells him that she knew she was going to give up on him. And then she lays the bomb on him. She's been carrying around mace because she's afraid. She too is having psychological issues as a result of the break-in. But she feels she can't tell him any of that, because she feels if she adds one more log to the pile, he's just gonna crack. She needs him to go to therapy. She needs him to get better. In part because she needs her support system back that she doesn't have right now, because he's struggling with all his issues. This is what brings Randall back to the table to talk to the therapist, who we finally see. And this is what gives Randall the motivation to try for real as a therapy thing. And I think this is a good place to leave it for this video. If you like this video, please like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. This is Dave from Corman Productions, signing off.